Welcome to City Council, Boulder City. Appreciate everybody being here, either live or online or on the phone. We would like to recognize that items listed on the agenda may be taken out of order. Two or more agenda items may be considered in a combined way, and any item on the agenda may be removed or related discussion may be delayed at any time. So having called it to order, we will have confirmation of the posting and roll call, please, Madam City Clerk.
Thank you. The agenda has been posted in accordance with open meeting law. All members are present in council chamber, with the exception of Councilmember Jorgensen has joined the meeting by telephone line.
Thank you. And we would like to recognize Pastor Deborah Downs here from Christian Center Foursquare Gospel Church, who will be giving us the invocation. Thank you.
Please join with me in prayer. Loving, adoring, and doting Father, what an amazing manner of love you have given to us, that we are privileged to be called your children. There is no limit to your love. It spans all heights, all depths, all lengths, all widths. We cannot comprehend its infinite breadth, and you choose to bathe us in your immense love. We are weakened and staggered in your presence. Our hearts swell with an outpouring of gratitude. We owe so much, yet you have asked nothing of us but our love. You have absolved all debt through your faith in your Son, Jesus Christ. For that we give you praise. But your love is not without effect. As we receive your affection, we recognize in it a compelling and irresistible conviction: love one another. It is through our love for one another that you do your deepest work to reconcile all creation to yourself. Reconcile. What a common yet seldom pondered concept. We reconcile family and friends. We reconcile differences. We reconcile bank accounts and budgets. We reconcile marriages and relationships. We reconcile contracts and ideas. We reconcile our desires and needs so as to live peaceably with others. All of these and more you empower through your great love. Teach us to walk in your ways as we follow in the footsteps of the one you sent to convey your love and reconciliation to all humankind. May our engagements this evening be evidence of your life and love in us. May we speak honorably to one another. May we present our appeals with humility. May we recognize your hand in all our interactions as you make us compatible with your character. I offer up to this gathering the words of your Apostle John. Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. This is how God showed his love among us. He sent his one and only Son into the world that we might live through him. This is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son as an atoning sacrifice for our sins. Dear friends, since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Downs, for that very apropos Valentine's message. Will please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any public announcements?
No announcements.
Seeing none, we will have public comment this time. During this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. Each person has up to 5 minutes to speak on a specific agenda item. Those here would be invited to come up to the podium, state your name, and spell it for some of us that can't understand things very well. And if we have no one here coming up to the podium, is there any written public comment that has come in?
Not for the first public comment portion.
Okay. And Is there anybody on the phone line that would be 702-589-9629? And we will wait to see if there's anybody. Thank you. We will move on the agenda. We will hear if there's approval of the regular agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Madam City Clerk,
I have a disclosure.
could you have the disclosure shared with us, please?
Thank you. Per NRS 279.454, if any officer or employee owns, purchases, or has or acquires any direct or indirect financial interest in such property within the redevelopment area, he or she shall immediately make a written disclosure of it to the agency and the legislative body, which must be entered into the minutes. Agency Board Member Koki Booth owns property at 1610 Boulder City Parkway and 850 Delray, Unit B. The written disclosure is on file in the City Clerk's office and will be included in the minutes. Agency Board Member Matt Fox has an indirect financial interest in property located at 1305 Arizona Street. Member Fox is a member of the Boulder Dam Restaurant LLC, which has a lease at 1305 Arizona Street. The written disclosure is on file in the City Clerk's office and will also be included in the minutes.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Move on. Is there approval for the regular agenda then?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor, sorry, I'll move to approve the regular agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded to approve the regular agenda. And is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed say nay. Unanimous. Thank you. And then for approval of the consent agenda, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda or change anything?
Mayor, may I request the removal of item 7 from the consent agenda?
Yes, you may. Item 7 on the consent agenda is hereby removed, and I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
I move to approve the consent agenda as amended. No?
Move to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item 7.
With the removal of item 7.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item 7. Any discussion? And those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Nay. The nays are none. Our phone is working, and Councilwoman Jorgensen is heard as an A, an aye, and a yay, whichever one happened. We'll move to the regular agenda then. We have a presentation, number 9 on the regular agenda from our Utilities Director, and supplemented with even a video. All right, Mr. Stubitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to express my appreciation. This is my first annual report. I want to express appreciation for Communications Manager LaPlante and her staff, and really just the staff of the city in general, boots on the ground to the admin staff. I mean, everyone puts forth their effort here, and that's been evident. So we've got a nice video to kind of give you an overview of the Utilities Department from the last fiscal year, and go ahead and get that queued up, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you.
Mayor and City Council, City Manager Tedder, and residents of Boulder City. I'm Joe Stubitz, the Utilities Director for Boulder City. I'd like to share with you some of the great projects that my staff and I have been doing. As you know, the City of Boulder City owns and operates 4 municipal utilities as created by city charter: water utility, wastewater utility, and electric utility and waste management utility, or the landfill. These utilities are not for profit. Some administration highlights of the past year: we received the Dark Skies grant of $1.9 million to retrofit all city streetlights. Utilities Engineer 2 position was filled, focusing on ARPA-funded projects. Water Conservation Code changes helped Boulder City save 12% water from 2021 to 2022. The Water Wastewater Division implemented CityWorks for maintenance management system, upgraded 35% of aging water meters, had no National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit violations, no Safe Drinking Water Act violations, and treated 1,288 acre-feet of water. The Electric Division was busy. The BC Tap to Buchanan 69 kV line was completed and put in service. This gives the city 2 permanent, reliable electric sub-transmission power sources to draw from, thus allowing the city to operate at full electric capacity from either of its source sites, which are the Meade Substation and BC Tap. This reconductor also included upgrading the 6 underbuilt circuits that are run in conjunction with the transmission line. Circuits 51 and 52 out of Substation 5, Circuits 33 and 34 out of Substation 3, as well as Circuits 23 and 25 out of Substation 2. The Red Mountain Overhead Line reconfiguration pole replacement was completed in preparation of the 4 kV to 12 kV system conversion. This line was originally built in a Delta configuration and is now prepared for a future Y configuration. The underground Circuit 21 of Substation 2 was returned to service. This line had been out of service for almost a year due to several cable failures and corrupted conduit runs. New 500 kc mil cable was installed, terminated, and returned to service. This was returned just in time to provide relief for the downtown area when Substation 1 had to be de-energized for construction reasons. St. Jude's Ranch for Children received a major 3-phase metering upgrade. Old, antiquated metering gear, which was located inside ranch property, was replaced with new 12 kV primary metering cabinet gear, equipped with a load switch. This allowed the meter and metering gear to be brought up to today's codes and standards, as well as provided the opportunity to relocate the metering equipment to the city right-of-way, allowing 24-hour access to said gear. Circuit 65 reclosure out of Substation 6 was also placed in service. This allowed for the relief of some of the loading from Substation 4, Circuit 43, while also providing a backup source feed for Substation 3 when it becomes necessary to de-energize Substation 3 during construction. Substation 3 is slated to be rebuilt utilizing the existing mutual assistance agreement between the City of Boulder City and the Colorado River Commission. And from the Solid Waste Management Division, landfill closure costs completed, landfill volumetric survey updated, Tier 2 non-methane organic compounds testing air quality permit update in progress. We received warning notice from Clark County Air Quality for minor violations. We responded with solutions to correct violations. Solutions were accepted by Clark County Air Quality. Our next major project is to undergo a utility rate study with the consultant Raftellus. I'll have more information on that in the coming months. Thank you, Mayor, council members, and residents of Boulder City. We hope this information helps you better understand the work of our team. So that's the presentation, so I hope it was informative, gave some highlights, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions?
May I, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
So the underground runs that we all saw, I believe that was on Adams, that was
Yes.
done, that you commented on. So if you would please just elaborate what the benefit was, that greater redundancy for more reliable power delivery to our customers, or redundancy? Elaborate, please.
So that was a line that had failed from collapsed conduit. So replacing that line was necessary for reliability and redundancy. Just like you say, that substation is slated to be decommissioned along with Substation 1 as part of a conversion project from 4160 to 12.5 kV. So that's going to really significantly increase reliability for the city.
So the substation there by Wayland Field we're talking about.
That's correct.
So will all that infrastructure be removed when that's decommissioned?
It will be, yeah. All the transformers,
Mhm.
reclosers, all that. It could be, some could be left in place, but yeah, it's likely that it would be removed and taken.
Great. Thank you. And as a part of that, we recently received the draft and approved the final for the integrated resource plan. That's required, as I read, by the federal government by receiving power from Hoover, right?
Correct.
But it's still a fantastic opportunity to forecast and to plan into the future. And I think it's outstanding that we are forecasting, particularly power, which prices are going up. And we need to seek greater reliability and redundancy and find alternative resources for purchasing power as the dam potentially produces less and less. So thank you for that part of your report and for that forecasting and strategic planning. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Another question, if I might. The landfill. Could you, if you know the answer, or maybe our Public Works Director, but I know there were 100 years or so under the configuration recently for the use of the landfill. How many years is that we have? I don't know if I have the number right or not.
I think it goes into over 2150, I believe, is the life of the landfill.
Great.
Yep.
I believe that occurred under a prior administration many years ago, and I think we're all happy that we have those many years left in that landfill under its current configuration.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we appreciate working with those folks that operate that. And could you please elaborate briefly for the benefit of the public on, you commented on the rate study from Raftellus and the purpose behind that and what we expect to see, please?
Sure. So as was mentioned in the beginning, we are not-for-profit. So our mission is safe, reliable delivery of goods and services, in this case, water, power, sewer, and solid waste. That does require costs associated with that. On the wholesale electric side, for fiscal year 22-23, the cost went up 28%. So that's in the period that we're in now, and that includes our power purchase agreements. For next fiscal year, it's slated to go up 35% from that. So these costs are rising. To give you a comparison, if we were to just go out into the market and purchase power, it would be well over 2 times what we're slated to pay for next fiscal year. So the power purchase agreements that we've got give us a really good, stable, outward look into the future. 50 years with Hoover, the town site agreement, the agreements with Glen Canyon and the other hydro facilities really give us a benefit to get more at cost. But as you know from the national news, gas prices have gone up quite a bit. The rate study is going to be basically capturing what our costs are. So I'm not going to say they're going to go up or down, but it's you can anticipate what's going to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Stubitz. So is it fair to say that the rates we're paying now are for prices for the operation of all the utilities, but we'll kind of take power as its own portion of that, right? That right now, we're paying for power that was 23% less when these rates were created.
That's correct.
Right.
On today's.
And in the future, if we continue with the same rates, we're paying rates that are 34% less than the power we're gonna have to buy in the very near future.
Well, very close. It's 38% or 35% of last year too. So, yep, you're right.
Yeah, so we have some very harsh realities, right, to
Right.
face as a community for those rates, and what that means to us. We can't deny the cold, hard fact that price for purchasing power is increasing, I think is what you're saying, right?
That's what we're seeing. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Stewitz. And if I did my math correct, 1,228 acre feet that was at our wastewater management facility
Yes,
is roughly 400 million gallons.
that's
Is
correct.
that about right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a lot of water at our treatment facility, and we're grateful for those that keep it running and functioning according to the health standards, right? For both
Absolutely.
the waste as well as our potable water. Can't have a society without potable water that is functional. So thank you, Mr. Stewitz. We appreciate all the efforts you've done since you've been with the city, and look forward to your service for many years to come. Great take on the presentation, doing the video.
Okay.
I think
thank
other
you.
department heads may take a cue from you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Great questions, Councilmember Walton. Still getting used to that. And great video. It was really nice. I enjoyed it. With the waste management, there were some warning notices for, there were some minor violations. What were those violations for, and what were your solutions to correct them?
So the issues were with a permit with the air quality, and that was during a transition period when there was not a utilities director position filled. So it happened over the holidays, and so that's something that's on our calendar, was immediately corrected. So it was a paperwork basically.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
Great presentation, and I look forward to more of these.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you all. As I understand it from your presentation, it's still attractive place to live with reasonable power rates and reasonable access to power, that all of those things that we did secured the ability for every single home and business to have power on a consistent basis with the way that we were able to do lines from different directions. And so we're still, I suspect, on the low side of costs in the greater Las Vegas area.
That's correct. We are the lowest, not just on the low side. Yeah, we're the lowest amongst our neighbors.
Could you say that again?
We are the lowest electric rates amongst all of our neighbors, including the for-profit utilities and the other two not-for-profit.
So this is still a good place to live.
I'd say it's one of the best places to live.
All right, thank you. Was I leading? Thank you, Mr. Stewitz, appreciate.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions, or can I have a motion to accept the presentation? Don't need a motion. We accept the presentation.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. And we will move to item number 10. This will be an introduction of bill number 1930, and we need just a simple introduction, and then we'll go on to the next one. Is there a person who'd like to introduce bill number 1930?
I'll introduce bill number 1930
And waive the reading except for title.
and waive the reading without title. I said right,
except for title.
except for title.
Thank you.
Second that.
Thank you. So it has been
There's
introduced.
no second, just
Oh, does it
introduction.
need a second?
It's been
Okay.
waived. Now, to
I remove my
illustrate
second.
this, introduction bill number 1931, it would be wonderful if introduction of bill number 1931 happened by somebody who may not be physically present.
Mayor, I have to finish with Bill number 1930
Okay, go
first.
for it.
Bill number 1930, an ordinance of the City of Boulder City amending Title IX of the City Code to repeal Chapter 1 excavations and obstructions and replace with an updated Chapter 1 Public Works permits. This matter will be considered at the 28th day of February 2023 City Council meeting.
Thank you. Anything else I need to wait on?
That's it.
Thank you. So I'm kind of curious if our phone is working. Yeah, Councilman Walton?
Ms. City Clerk, is there an opportunity to provide comment on that particular?
There is not, introductions only at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So speaking of introductions, I'm trying to involve Councilwoman Jorgensen to see if she would like to introduce bill number 1931 and waive the reading except for title.
Yes, thank you. I move to introduce 1931 and waive the reading except for title. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jorgensen.
Thank you. Bill number 1931, an ordinance of the City of Boulder City, Nevada, to amend Title 11 of the City Code, Section 11-35-7, to extend the zoning approval expiration period for variances and permits, AM 23-362. This matter will be considered at the regular meeting of the City Council on the 28th day of February, 2023.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. We will now move to regular business. Item number 12, Mr. City Manager.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Taylor Tedder, your city manager here. This item tonight, the Pet Columbarium project. Tonight, I'm essentially looking for your direction. So, staff, in the financial year 2022 budget, $50,000 was allocated for the design of a pet columbarium. The general thought was, since the majority of the open land in the desert is conservation easement, this would be a way to serve pet owners in a place where they could put their pets' cremains. When we went out for scope of work from consultants, engineering firms, the fee that we received was over $74,000, and we had only budgeted $50,000. So the city council at that time asked for additional research on pre-manufactured pet columbarium options. So staff moved forward with a survey to gain community feedback. We started that on November 7th, 2022, and kept that open for 8 weeks through the first of this year. And it was posted on the main landing page of our website, sent to residents as a news flash, posted repeatedly on Facebook, Nextdoor, Instagram, and Twitter. So first, let me start with the presentation and give you a little bit of background. Well, anyway, it's in your packet, so I'll go ahead and keep going on. So we looked at two different pre-assembled columbaria in two sizes. So they ranged from $40,000 to $100,000. And the city would be responsible for additional costs, such as constructing the concrete base and the crane that would be needed to set the unit because they are very heavy. The ossuarium differs in that animal cremains are placed in a small container, and then they're placed in the unit with no separate niches for the actual cremains. And the pre-assembled unit had spaces for up to 425, which prices on that started at $47,000, and the city again would be responsible for constructing the base and placing it on that. The potential location essentially was the Boulder City Municipal Cemetery, because when you do dedicate land per the state law. It would have to be maintained as a cemetery in perpetuity, even if it's for pet remains. So going to the survey results, we had 94 respondents from the survey in the 8 weeks that it was open. 81% said that they were a pet owner. 71% said that their pet is like a member of their family. And then we asked the question, something you would like to have in Boulder City. And more than 2/3 of the respondents, 68% said no, and about 25 people said yes. And then we also asked how much people would be willing to pay for this internment for the pets. And 73% or 69 respondents said that they would not pay for this service, while 18 people said they would spend up to $200 for it. So essentially tonight we're looking for your direction if you would like to move forward with the pre-assembled pet columbarium, if you'd like to look at other options, if you'd like to reevaluate this during the budget process, which is quickly approaching us. But I'm here to answer any questions and look forward to your direction.
Any questions, comments? Councilman Walton?
So, Mr. City Manager, if we don't proceed with this ossuarium for the cremains of pets, what are the options of our citizens to, take care of their deceased pets?
Typically, when someone has a pet that has to be put to sleep or passes away, they usually typically handle that through their veterinary office. So the veterinarian has either contracts with people that do that for them or does it themselves, and it's typically $50 to $100 to have your pet cremated, and you can take the remains or leave them behind. But that is the typical option that people do.
So if somebody's pet passes away and they need to, for lack of a more delicate term, dispose of the remains, typically it's handled through the vet, right? And even if they use the ossuary for the remains of the pet, they would still need to go to their vet for the cremation service, is that right?
Correct. This would just be for cremains. It wouldn't be for, a plot of land.
Any
or
service
anything like that.
associated with that,
Correct.
right? We wouldn't then, as part of that, be doing the cremation of the pet or anything
Correct.
like
So
that?
this would be on top of,
Right.
so essentially like a memorial. Yes.
So essentially what it is then is if my pet passes away and then I go to the vet for cremation or disposal in whatever fashion we agree upon, and then the vet takes care of it, and that's the end of it, right? So then this would simply become a memorial with the remains.
Correct.
Is that a fair statement?
Correct. And
Okay.
the options are you could have your own spot, or it could all be placed in a lower cost center of the structure, and then you could have the name placed on a nameplate. Yeah.
And in any case, there would be, at some point in the future, if we proceed, an identified fee for doing that as well. So it's an extra fee on top of whatever you pay the vet to take care of your pet,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Okay. I think I asked all my questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Other questions?
I just
Councilwoman
wanted to
Booth?
ask, what was Ann's thought from our animal control? Did she get any feedback back that she could share with us?
She was fairly neutral on this. We had some feedback that they didn't want it near the animal control shelter, just, with the other animals around. But other than that, there was no other feedback, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, I'm just kind of torn between everything because, we all love our animals, some more than others. But to, go get them cremated, and then, if you want to put them in one of these guys, they got to pay another fee, which on the study, majority doesn't want to pay. So it's like, why even have that service when we're gonna spend, between, $40,000 for that, then we gotta pay for the concrete, the crane, it's gonna be almost $100,000 that people want for free. It'd be great, but, it's a service that's gonna cost money, and I would love to have it, but I don't see us, spending the money on it. That's how I feel about it.
Appreciate that. Listening to the comments as well as the presentation, I don't think we're ready to figure out, what 2/3 of the people who still have pets and, what their options are that would be work for them. And I think probably staff could do some more exploring different options that we may be able to be more comfortable with. I don't know how the other council people feel, but I think it may be too early to commit to what we're doing.
Could I make one more comment?
Yes.
I know a lot of my friends, because I'm the animal person here, I know. A lot of my friends are saving their pets' ashes and they're going to have them buried with them. So I know that's an option that several of my friends have chose. So I think that's one of the reasons maybe why we're not seeing so much interest in something like this. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have any additional questions, but I'll chime in on some comments. I think I agree with what I'm hearing from my fellow council members. Surveys are hard to know, who the respondents really are, if they're truly pet owners or not, or if they're chiming in because they feel passionately one way or the other. But the numbers clearly spell out that not many folks that love their pet like a family member are that interested in this type of investment. And that stated, I think as far as city government goes, I think that's a little bit beyond where we should be spending our funds, and leave that to the veterinarians and the other private providers and the individuals to make their decisions for how they want to memorialize their pets after they see their veterinarian and the unfortunate passing of their loved pet. And so I would add my comments for staff that we just set this on the shelf and not really proceed any additional research for it. It's my 2 cents.
Comments?
Right there with Councilmember Walton. Put it on the shelf.
I would agree at this point also.
I would accept
I'd
the
also-
motion. Oh,
I would also agree, considering the survey and the numbers that we saw coming back, that it might be time for this to be shelved. Thank you.
thank you. I would accept a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that our direction to staff is to set this aside and leave it as it is until such time as we decide to bring it up, and if we do, anytime in the future.
Mayor and council, there's no motion needed
Okay.
on this. The direction that you've provided is sufficient. And this is out of the Acquisitions and Improvements Capital Improvement Fund, so we'll be able to look at reallocation of that with your input. So thank you, and that's all the feedback I need. I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate it. We'll move on then to item 13. And Mr. Mays.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. In the El Dorado Valley, there are approximately 3,000 acres owned by the Bureau of Land Management, or what we refer to as the BLM, that is part of unincorporated Clark County. This constitutes the majority of the land between Boulder City and the city of Henderson that is not currently within either jurisdiction. For the past year, City Manager Tedder has been in negotiations with representatives with the City of Henderson to work out an agreement regarding which city would annex this land. Those conversations have resulted in an agreement in which Boulder City would annex approximately 2,555 acres, and Henderson would annex approximately 290 acres. And if we could advance to the next slide, please. Thank you. As you can see on the screen, the lime green color is the current boundaries of Boulder City. The gray is the current boundaries of Henderson. And the properties that are in blue and red are the 3,000 acres. And as you can see, a majority of that would be annexed by Boulder City. In order to annex land owned by another governmental entity, a city must meet several criteria, including receipt of a letter of no objection from that government entity. The city has received a letter from the BLM that they do not object to this annexation. Tonight is the first step in the annexation process. Contained in your staff report is a timeline for the remaining annexation steps, including a public hearing that would be held before the council on March 28th, and council consideration of a bill on May 9th, with effective annexation by the end of May if the council supports the annexation. It's important to point out that the annexation of land does not transfer ownership. The annexed land will still be owned by the BLM, but would be within Boulder City's jurisdiction. So tonight, staff is asking for council consideration of Resolution 7581 to begin the process of annexation of approximately 2,555 acres in the El Dorado Valley. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Councilwoman Booth?
So, if we get this land, will we be able to put solar on it?
That would be subject to the BLM. Since it's their land, they would be having to enter into a lease agreement with a solar entity.
So basically, if I'm understanding you right, we're getting that land to use like for open space?
The land as contemplated by Boulder City, a majority of it would be preserved as open space. It's our understanding that of that 2,555 acres, currently, the Townsite Solar is negotiating with the BLM to develop an additional 80 acres for their solar project. But yes, the remainder would be open space.
Okay, thank you.
And just to add to that, Councilmember Booth, the land that's being annexed, so it's simply being added to the city's boundary, so it's within the city limits of Boulder City, but it will still be owned by the BLM. So we will not own this land, but it's within the city limits.
Well, will it give us any rights to say what's done with this land? Are you saying no?
Right, it will. So it would still be subject to our development regulations. It would
Okay.
be subject to our city code. It would be subject to our permitting, things of that nature.
Okay, great, thank you.
And then just to add, it would be like any other federally owned property within Boulder City, like the Bureau of Reclamation, the post office. Those local laws that apply to them would apply to the BLM.
Councilman?
Just to clarify then, since the BLM would own that land and the solar company is potentially in negotiations for that, the lease revenue from that portion of their generation on their land, the lease revenue would go to the BLM.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
My question.
I think if, while you're there, Mr. Mays, if I could also comment, if we could go back to the map that has the lime green and then the red and blue areas, yeah, that one. The gray areas that are the city of Henderson city limits, Mr. Mays, is it not generally, as it encroaches down towards that blue and red section, that's Sloan Mountain there, right, at the western edge of our city limits?
In between Sloan Mountain is land that previously was unincorporated Clark County and then annexed into Henderson, which has been the discussion regarding potential office warehouse development within the city of Henderson.
But much of that land, looking at it in the two-dimensional map, we might think, oh, they're right in our city, right, Henderson is. But there's that large mountain that separates really any development of Henderson, other than those warehouses, to the other side to, stretching south of Nevada State College and so forth, right? So
That's
there's
correct.
a natural feature that separates us there, other than that little section that they now have incorporated.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. I think that's worth noting, that we're two-dimensionally, we're not looking at Henderson knocking on our door per se, but that there's geographic features that keep us a little bit separate. I just want to make that comment, Mr. Mayor. just
Thank
so
you.
that, yeah.
That, I think helps everybody understand that concept of two-dimension, because the third dimension is a mountain. And it's hard to build homes on the mountain, get BLM permission to do that. Any other comments? Councilwoman Jorgensen?
Yes, I just kind of had a question. I know that this was land that prior to the annexation by Henderson was not something that they could annex, but I saw that we were in negotiations for that. So this provides kind of a natural buffer for us if it ends up in our zone to be able to help our city limits also, right?
Yeah, that would be correct. And through this agreement, this would solidify the boundaries between Henderson and Boulder City, and would mean that approximately 95 to 99% of all of the land would be annexed into either jurisdiction. There would be few remaining unincorporated parcels.
Right, and so for us, the benefit is that we've made sure that we know where we begin and other city limits begin, and then that land there, even though still BLM land, has defined, city limits.
Correct.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other comments? I would accept a motion to accept resolution number 7581.
Mr. Mayor? Thank you, Mr. Mays, by the way. Appreciate all the work by our city manager and yourself on these annexation efforts. I move to approve Resolution 7581 to begin the process to annex approximately those 2,554 acres.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? It has been unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mays. And we will now move on to item number 14. Madam City Attorney?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. Item 14 is discussion, update, and direction regarding the city's position on certain bills introduced during the 82nd session of the Nevada Legislature. The Nevada Legislature convened on February 6th, and the city has retained Warren Hardy of Warren Hardy Strategies to assist and represent the city this legislative session. As you know, Warren did a legislative preview to you. This is just a complement to that. The purpose of this report is to keep you updated on the bills being proposed at the legislature that impact the city. Mr. Hardy does Warren Hardy does a initial review of the bills and then distributes those bills to the city. I then do a preliminary review and distribute those bills to the department heads and their staff. And then they review each bill, provide a summary, and assess its impact to the city. So the attached spreadsheet is a listing of those bills, the recommended position, and recommended priority level and tracking. Low, medium, and low priority bills are those that may or may not impact the city, but we want to be aware of. Medium priority bills are those that will impact the city that we'll want to pay closer attention to, and then high priority bills are those that the city has a vested interest in. One of those would be Senate Bill 23, which would allow a redevelopment agency to remove property from a redevelopment area if the area is used primarily for residential use and the property tax revenue is better suited for traditional property tax purposes. This bill was authorized by City Council last year in August and was our bill draft request for this legislative session, which we received one. So the attached report is just an overview to keep you updated on the legislative session. If you have any feedback on that, you can provide that now. Otherwise, we're looking for your concurrence with the recommendations.
Comments?
Well, I appreciate, that's a lot of work, and just reading the summary was a lot of time, but indeed, there are many that we have direct interest in right now or potentially will, depending on the wording, and so we look forward to getting our money's worth from Mr. Hardy and Associates and protecting our interests there at the legislature and working with you closely on those. And thank you for all of that, Brittany.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this report and putting it, low, medium, and high. That helped me out a lot. Not everything that you guys have on here as far as priority and where we stand, it looks really good in my eyes. Thank you.
Could I just ask, how are we going to get updates on these? And how often will they be?
Sure. So I plan to agendize this report approximately once a month throughout the legislative session, which will adjourn in early June. So the final update will be at the last 2 weeks of May. But I'm happy to keep you updated in the meantime if you have any particular questions. The session moves fast. For example, there's actually 150 more bills that have been published since this report was put together. So we are diligently reviewing those. We review all of them preliminarily, but we'll be tracking approximately maybe 30 to 40 of those additional bills. But there's expected to be 800 bills to 900 bills this legislative session. So we're looking to stay on top of it for you.
Will this be able to be seen on the website? What we're seeing, this little tracking thing that you did here, a diagram?
It's available in the packet. On the legislative website, they actually have a great tool that even members of the public can use. It's the personal legislative tracking software. Members of the public can track up to 10 measures for free, and then there's paid accounts that allow you to track more. And that's a really great way for members of the public to see what's being introduced and what particularly interests them and keep close track of it. It's a very transparent and open process. Members of the public can testify in those hearings and present their opinion as well.
And then other than that, once a month, you're going to update this for us, and they'll be able to see it at that time?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And great job, by the way.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make a comment. I'm really appreciative of this. I know that in the past, we've had some mandates that are unfunded mandates, which in turn cost us, especially as a smaller municipality. So I love that you are keeping your eye on that, because it could become really a real cost burden for us. So I appreciate this, and I would probably say anything that you see that might be heading that direction should receive some sort of priority. And then also just thank you, because I do think this was a lot of work, and if there's 118 more, I think it's a lot of work, and I appreciate what you've done.
Thank you, Councilwoman, and we definitely will keep you updated if there is a particularly pressing issue that needs your attention.
Any other comments? I will make the observation that these are in the legislature, and so our representative, for instance, Danielle Gallant, the Assemblywoman, and our Senator Jeff Stone, they have numbers and emails that you can do, but I think one of the things that we have in Boulder City is people who care, and people who read, and people who are interested in having input into what goes into the law. So even though we are always available as city council people, it's a very dynamic, I'll call it, process, and literally things happen in moments in the legislature. And so if your representative, if you get to know your state assembly person and your state senator, and let them know what your feelings are on a given piece of legislation, it can change in a heartbeat in the last of the session with the conference committee. And so it is critical that we are the literal watchdogs of the people who theoretically are watching out for us and so we aren't going to be able to, as a city council, be able to have input on every bill, on everything, and have hearings on every bill for two reasons. One, we're not able to have that much time, and two, it changes. And so I would recommend that you, if I were going to look at all of these, I would say make sure you have a relationship electronically or verbally or in person with your and our representatives to talk about these bills that have been identified. Take your favorite one and say, this is what I feel or what I don't feel. But I think this is a wonderful job that our city attorney has done. And when she says 181 more, there's probably about 3 more times that are going to happen as the system goes on. Do you have any other observations, Madam City Attorney?
I do not, thank you.
Any other questions? I would then have the city attorney be able to continue doing what she's doing, and I would accept a motion that we appreciate the city attorney and keep us in touch, and if there's such a motion. We can't do
I'll second that.
I would love to do it, but I'm not going to. So thank you. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Mayor and Council, I
Great job.
appreciate it.
So we'll close that item, which is item 14, and go to public comment. Any public comment here in the room, come forward. And if you're going to, we haven't had any letters in the meantime.
There was one written comment.
Okay.
This comment was received by Lois Donat. She's referencing a discussion that took place at the Utility Advisory Committee. Agenda item number 3, I believe all the water that Boulder City receives should be used in Boulder City and then sent back to Lake Mead. Alternative 2, direct reuse for Boulder City irrigation, key considerations. Provides 100% utilization of treated effluent, does not require operating agreement with City of Henderson to treat returned wastewater, requires wastewater treatment plant upgrade replacement, improved water quality, effluent needed for irrigation, involves repurposing existing raw water line, blending potable and treated wastewater for irrigation, water quality implications of using high TDS treated wastewater during winter require monitoring and management, and increased operating costs versus other alternatives similar to alternative 3.
Thank you. Any other comments on written? If not, is there anyone on the phone lines? 702-589-9629. And we will wait an appropriate amount of time for anybody to call in for public comment. Thank you. We have no one on the lines. We'll go to city council report. And so we'll go down the list. Councilman Jorgensen, would you like to start?
I had the opportunity, since we met last, to go to a board meeting for the Boulder City Museum and Historical Association, and reporting that they're doing an awesome job getting people here to see the treasure that's Boulder City, and their numbers are looking good. So I think we have a presentation coming up from them, and I think you'll really be excited to hear about that. I also had an opportunity to attend the debt management meeting, which there was one item for Henderson. And then I had a wonderful opportunity to go speak to a group of fourth graders about what it was like, because they're studying about the state of Nevada and what it's like to be in council. And so they invited me there to talk, and I just wanted to share two of the thank you notes that I received, because they're kind of wonderful, actually. On a funnier note, I'm not exactly sure if I spoke about the sheep, but I must have, so here it goes. Dear City Councilwoman Jorgensen, thank you for speaking with us. You helped me learn about all the nice people in Boulder City and about the sheep, that they get away with eating the nice grass. So I thought that one was kind of cute. And then the second one was, thank you for spending time with us, telling us about what you do. And most of all, I learned that once you're a city council member, it's not all about you, it's all about the community and the people. Sincerely, Marcus. So just loved getting out in the community and having the opportunity to share a little bit about what it means to serve your community, and look forward to the next 2 weeks. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Booth?
I meant to do this in January, but I wanted to thank the people on Fifth Street, because Dale and Diane always put up their Christmas house and all the lights, and everybody on Fifth Street around them put up lights. So it made for a very magical experience for all the kids that drove down that street at Christmas time. And I just wanted to thank everybody in Boulder City that did that. And of course, their electricity bills went up a little, I'm sure, in December, but thank you so much from the community.
Thank you. Councilman Fox?
Yeah, I don't have too much to report. Just thank you to all the staff members and everyone that showed up here tonight on a, Valentine's night, where you should be out enjoying dinner with your loved one. That's it for me.
Thank you. Councilman Walden?
In relation to the regional boards that I participate with, I think the Review Journal, about a week or more ago, commented on the 6-state letter, those involved of the 7 in the Colorado River Pact, and California being the one that presented their own plan. But we are still actively engaged as a state, and Southern Nevada particularly, in the negotiations with the other states from the upper basin and the lower basin about the water allocations. Our allocation may go down slightly, but it is still above what the use is. And so because of our valley-wide reclamation that we are mindful of joining at some point in the near future, so much water is returned back to the lake that our net use is very manageable. And so, I can't speak to the politics necessarily of growth, but over the hill, they aren't yet limiting building permits. And that is due in great measure to the fact that so much of the water, every drop that hits a drain returns back to Lake Mead. And so hence, like Boulder City had those ordinance updates, over the hill, there's so much going on to limit the use of water that can't be reclaimed. And I think we're all pretty well aware of those. I won't go into that. But so water remains to be of high priority to Southern Nevada and the Water Authority. As far as the Convention and Visitors Authority, there's two main reasons why that matters to us. And the consolidated tax provides us with a great deal of our budget funding. And as people come to Las Vegas, the consolidated tax increases in its revenue, and therefore we get a great share. So it matters to us. And then we also get much of the spillover of the visitors who come to see the very equally unique community of Boulder City and feed into our local businesses and other activities that we have. So just as a brief summary, coming later this year, as you may have noted by the World Cup just a handful of months ago, as called throughout the world, football with the round ball is a passionate sport and with many fans. And we have the Central American and Caribbean Association of Footballers coming to Nevada in the early summer of this year, which will bring tens of thousands of visitors. We also have UFC Fight Week, which is actually an international draw with tens of thousands of visitors to Las Vegas. And then, of course, in 2024, we're looking to hosting Super Bowl 53. And to commemorate that, the marketing folks and the directors, the staff members of the Convention and Visitors Authority went down to Glendale and visited with the thousands of media that were there and introduced Las Vegas and unveiled what they called the Super Ball, which was a football about 9 feet high and 13 feet long, with the logo for Super Bowl 53, which incorporates the iconic Las Vegas images. But that football is making its way into town today and will be around, and I imagine that we will probably have that come out to Boulder City at some point so we could get some marketing value out of that. But that will be coming in the about a year from now to Las Vegas, which is a really big deal, again, to visitation and revenue that will benefit our fine community here in Boulder City. So those are a few things I wanted to report on.
Thank you. Appreciate all the reports. The good news is, one of the good news is parents still have a voice in the process. And I say that our Boulder City High School men's basketball team had a challenge in that they were not able to play in the tournament. And the power of parents that used all of their abilities and righteousness to require and get an appeal that quite frankly isn't allowed by NAC into a decision that said Boulder City High School had to forfeit the league games that they played in by and large, and the appeal won, and Boulder City High School basketball team, men's basketball, will be playing this Thursday at 6:30 in Boulder City at Boulder City High School. So it does happen that the power of parents is real, and when they work with the agencies and all of the people who are in charge of everything, good things happen. And so I'm very pleased to say that if you thought the game was tonight and then it was canceled, you were right, but now you're wrong, because it will be on Thursday at 6:30 right here in Boulder City. So I'd encourage people to go out and support the team. Today I had the opportunity to go down and realize why it's so much better to be a mayor instead of a state legislator. When we had a hearing that went on some time, and my part was to say, yes, we do want the Railroad Museum, and we do want to take advantage of the funds that have already been allocated and looked at, and be encouraging. And I got the chair of the committee refreshingly said he liked it too, and that is always what we call a good sign. And it was a good hearing that will help us as we move forward on the Railroad Museum, the linear park, and all the things that went with that. And that is my report, and if there's nothing else, we will adjourn.